皆様こんばんは。今週も始まりましたよ。Cardano Radio いかがお過ごしでしょうかね。先週までマティアスが、出てくれてて、またね、再来週ぐらいかな出てもらおうと思っているんですけど、今日は緊急特番ですね。本当になんかあとエマージェンシーラジオみたいになっておりますけど、今ねカルダノノード、もちろんハスケルノードがありますけど、今もう X を見てるとね、ブリンクラブスの、クリスいっぱい出てきてます。ディンゴがすごく頑張っておりますのでね、今日は緊急特番でここでね、もう一度クリスを呼んで、もうね、リアルタイム、本当にライブですね、生でお届けしているような感じなので、お楽しみいただければと思います。そしたら呼んでみたいと思います。Hey Chris, thanks for the last minute notice and coming on the air. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's nice being back.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was just too perfect of a time, and I know you're busy for the Builders Fest and everything, but it's always better to ask than not ask, so I just took the chance. Thank you.
Absolutely. Like I said, here I am. So how's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm trying to do my own thingies too. Not staying up, like sitting in front of the computer for like 17 hours a day. It's killing my butt a little bit, but otherwise I'm healthy.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there. Yeah. Lots of long days.
And especially when you really feel tired and you want to go to sleep, something happens and it really makes you angry, but otherwise I'm happy.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting time.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody probably that's tuning in right now would definitely know why I called you in. And I wanted to talk to you about your cute, the barking Dingo.
Dingo, yes.
And and I have a nice pin badge too. Thank you very much. And I got it from when Christina was in Tokyo. So I have my Blink Lab stickers too, and I got to increase my collection. So I'm looking forward for getting more when I meet you.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, I'll pass the mic to you, and, you're posting a lot of things, and a lot of amazing things is going on with you and your team. So, please update us. What's going on?
Sure. So first off, I want to kind of start a little bit and talk a tiny bit about the Blink Labs team, and especially the team working on Dingo.
Mm-hmm.
Dingo has been a long-running project for us. It's been something that we've been building from essentially the beginning of our time on Cardano through the start of our libraries and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, we've done work with Catalyst,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of the Catalyst work has funded some of the things for, Goroboros and Dingo itself, and then some of our other projects that are unrelated.
Mm-hmm.
And we've taken the majority of that money and we've continued to set it aside rather than paying ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we created a paid open source contributor program.
Mm-hmm.
And so with this program, we recruited people to Cardano
mm-hmm.
That were already Go developers
mm-hmm.
and have been training them on Cardano, training them on how Cardano works, training them on the protocol, training them on all of these things. And they've been working through our projects.
Mm.
So they are a part of the Dingo team, but these are all paid but part-time contributors, right?
Uh-huh.
So they're only contributing, like 10 hours a month or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not expected to be full-time employees.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these people want to come onto the team and work full-time on Dingo along with us,
mm-hmm.
whereas others want to just remain an open source contributor because that was the reason they joined the program in the first place, was something on the side.
Yeah.
So, with all of that being said, there's also been the recent, explosion in AI. And it's only through like the combination of these things that we really are able to deliver and, continue to deliver at the speed and quality that we've been used to. So, Dingo for a very long time has been built as a data node, and it's perfectly capable. Well, it was perfectly capable of serving data very easily. We've actually broken it a little bit by building in all of the new block production support. Essentially, what we did was we took Dingo, from being a node that required another trusted node into being fully self-sovereign, meaning it's going to validate all of its own data, right, and trust nothing from no one, which is, the base goal of blockchain, right? It is, a trustless, permissionless system. So the idea is you now have a data node that does not require any other node for trust. It's able to validate everything on its own.
Yeah.
We kind of came to the realization that once you get to that point and you start getting to where you have it fully validating locally, the difference between that and actual block production is fairly small, right? It's calculating a leader schedule and then taking, transactions out of the mempool, assembling them into a block, signing it, and sending it over the network.
Yeah.
That's essentially the only thing that a block producer does once you've already done the rest of the validation.
Yeah.
So it made us realize that, the block production story isn't that far away from a self-sovereign data node story, right? From a relay story.
Yeah.
So we started working towards that. Initially, our first block production support was actually showcased at Rare Evo Dev and Governance Days back in August of this last year, where we showed Dingo working on a DevNet, where it was the only node on the network, which of course is even easier, right? You don't have to worry about consensus. You don't have to worry about anything. You just have to build something that looks like a valid block, which is perfect for DRep developers.
Yeah.
One of the main things with Dingo is it will never change from being also a data node, right? Like that is also one of its main design and capabilities. Yeah. So one of its goals and one of the reasons with block production is to build a fully encapsulated and fully enclosed single system capable of providing everything that the DRep developer might need. Right, all of the APIs, all of the data, onboarding, transactions onto the chain, validating transactions, giving feedback to the DRep developer whether the transactions they're building or not are good, that sort of thing. And then there's other features that we're going to continue to build down that path. Now, building block production, as I said, is fairly easy. Building mainnet capable block production suitable for a top 10 blockchain is not as easy. Yeah. Right. There's a lot more work that goes into it. And a lot of it is, I want to say organizational, more so than necessarily technical. Right. So there's a lot of things that we have to do. We've had the Haskell node from IO for many, many, many years now. It is very trusted. And, throughout our community, it's battle tested. Bring up another node that's been coded, no matter what language it's in, no matter what methodology that's been used, it's going to be suspect within our community. It's going to have a more difficult time gaining traction without something like a security audit done by an external firm. So this is something that both us and Amaru have both shared the idea of doing this within our production stacks because we think it's actually necessary for peace of mind and for the security of the network. Yeah. So the point is there's work that goes above and beyond making it work technically. Yeah. Right. There's also even just the wanting to take on the potential liability of being another block producer on the network. Right. What happens if you're a block producer on the network and you start gaining stake and start gaining things, and then you have a major bug that causes financial loss to the network or things like that? Is someone that's building a node entirely on their own willing to take on, that kind of thing? Or are they going to always say, oh, this is just an experiment, I wrote it on my own, don't use this in production, right? Are they always going to back away from that production use case? So it's an entirety of a stack of software, an entirety of an organization. We're trying to build, an ecosystem. We work with other teams. There is actually a lot of Go code in the ecosystem that people are unaware of. And it's mostly because they're not producing direct Go projects. So So a good example of something that you can look at, and if you go look at their GitHub, you can start to see where these things occur, is like Sunday, Sunday Swap, Sunday Labs. If you go to their GitHub, you'll see they have a lot of Rust, they have a lot of Go, they have a lot of Haskell, a lot of Aiken, they have a lot of everywhere, right? But the main thing is they have Go also. They're using Go in their stack, just like they're using Haskell, just like they're using Rust. And there are lots of other projects that are doing the same thing. They're using different languages to solve different problems. And this is where diversity really comes in, is sometimes, the right tool is in a different language. It's not in the language you want. But as developers, we still tend to prefer our own language, right? If I go and I see two things that are otherwise equal, and one of them is in Rust and one of them is in Go, and I know Go and I don't really know Rust, I'm going to pick Go. Right? That's just the reality of how developers work. They're going to want to work on what's more familiar.
True.
Right? So that's what we're trying to continue and foster with Dingo, with Go, and most importantly with our treasury proposal is to continue with that. But block production and the idea of making it mainnet ready has always kind of been at the back of my mind, but it has never been anything that we've been able to scale up enough or build the team large enough to be able to accomplish. And I would have even said 3 months ago, if you would have asked me, no, I probably can't do it. Right. But since then, we've been working with agentic AI and, agentic coding and working through those sort of things and watching the difference in velocity. It makes things that were previously not necessarily possible, mostly because of labor costs have been brought down. Right. So the cost of planning, the cost of testing, the cost of certifications, the cost of audits, these kind of things haven't really come down, but the cost of code generation itself has. So our primary slowdown for being able to build a block producer, aside from those external things like audits and things like that, has been code generation. Right? If I'm only able to produce so much code, or the team's only able to produce so much code in a certain amount of time, we focus on the features and things like that that are, more targeted directly to exactly what we need now. It's harder to be aspirational and build for features we're going to need in a year, right? If it takes a significant amount of manpower and a significant amount of time to be able to build them. Right? Well, now that time has come down. It's come down a lot, right? The cost of experimentation has come down significantly, right? As building a node of your own and working through that, things have gotten a lot easier because you can try something, and if it doesn't work, you can throw it away. And the cost is a few hours, not a few weeks, right? The time difference is so much more that we're able to experiment more. We've found that with the advent of agentic coding and AI becoming so popular, people are not working less, right? The developers are excited, and we're all working more, right? Like we're all spending 18 hours a day staring at our computer, working through tokens and working through problems that before, were too lofty. They took too much time, right? So we were spending time instead focused only on the things that derived immediate value. And it was harder to build for the future. And like now with AI, it's an accelerator. It allows us to build much faster. And it allows us to validate things much faster.
Yeah, I see. I mean, and I don't know if it's like a boom right now, but everybody's like not only making nodes, but they're making their own things, and it's kind of fun, I think. But one thing that it's really scary is people say like code vibing and this and that, but building like my image of code vibing is, for example, you have an image, you just put in the prompt and press enter, and go to sleep and let it work. And I think that is code vibing in my terms. And like, compared to you, like, I'm like a 2-year-old when it comes to like engineering, and maybe not even 2, maybe a 3-month-year-old, I don't know. But the big difference between, like, in my case, is like a difference between a code diver and me is like, of course, the word comes because I don't know all the codes, but I put it in and I look, and the most important part is debugging. If something happens, you got to fix it. You go to the next. It's like playing a role-playing game, You look for that bug, you squash it, hooray! Next bug comes out, you kill it, you go to the next stage, and I'm just basically I'm enjoying the moment that all the bugs appear, because that's when I learn a lot more, and I go to the next stage. So I wouldn't want to call myself a code viber, but I don't know what the word is, because if I call myself an engineer, then 200 people will throw rocks at me because I am not. So I don't know what I am, but maybe an artist, because what music is my main background, so if I can say something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is there's a wide range. I mean, right? Every engineer started out writing their first line of code. So, what you call yourself, I don't know. I mean, and I wouldn't even say no, you couldn't call yourself an engineer, right? I mean, I think that a lot of it depends more on the principle and the path that you're taking, right? So I mean, as you're saying, you're working through feedback loops and, like testing cycles and things like that. You're essentially doing what engineers do. I would call it an engineer, right? Now, your level of experience is different, right? And that's okay. But, you're still following the same process. It's like if someone's following a scientific method and they're doing, the work of a scientist, we would call them a scientist. Does that make them a PhD? Does that make them a doctor or whatever? No, of course not, right? But if you're following the scientific method and you're doing a science experiment, it's still a science experiment, right? Whether it's a kid doing it in his garage or, whether it's someone at a large multinational corporation with multiple PhDs. And that's exactly the point. It's the same method. And that's really what we're trying to get to, is giving people methods and capabilities to be able to reproduce this stuff. Which goes into a lot of what we're also doing is trying to share the knowledge. There's a Cardano blueprint project that was started by Input Output. And, the goal for this project, and I think a lot of us working on nodes are trying to contribute to it, is to be able to make the process easy for anyone else in the future. And it's just so that, we can have random node in language number 34, but instead it is so that there is a transparent understanding of the inner workings of the system.
True.
Right. And a lot of that was missing before. And having other node teams like the Amaru team from Pragma, us, and others, even working on these things and talking about them and talking with the node teams have opened up a lot of visibility into the inner workings of how a lot of this stuff works. And it's even caused those engineering teams to reevaluate some of the things that have been built. Because sometimes when you go and someone asks you to document something and you go start documenting it, you realize this is way more complex than it needs to be. Or, like this isn't clear how these two things work together or things like that. You end up strengthening your own code just trying to document it, right? So there's a lot of collaboration there that helps these things happen.
True.
And then,
go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. One more thing. Sorry to interrupt you, but what I was thinking about is like, for example, the big difference about closed source and open source. Like, for example, in GitHubs and everything, right? GitHubs. I don't know. Let's say I made something like super special that it's gonna, make history. For example, I don't know what, but for whether if it's Cardano or Bitcoin or wherever, and you never done that in your life and you're doing it all alone and you're kind of scared to open it up. Maybe somebody's going to steal it. That's the kind of theory a single person would have. But in, Dingo and, what you're doing and the other team is doing, they're basically having it open source, right? So my question is, what's the strength, my pros and cons of, having it open source?
Yeah, I mean, so the pros of having an open source is, first off, we're building in a blockchain environment, right? And especially if you're talking about the basest of infrastructure, you can't have any of it be trust me, bro. And so being closed source by definition is trust me, bro. You can't see how the sausage is made. So it's essentially a requirement at the base level, infrastructure layer, which is where we typically build. We're also open source at heart. We've always been open source contributors and developers for a long time. That was the main reason why we came here, was not to build a competitive corporate moat, but instead to build open source and continue to build open source and, provide services and software to the community. We get a lot of I get a lot of my enjoyment out of building the things. Right. I get that much more so than anything else. And, it's the community that makes it worth building. So I don't really see where that comes out in closed source. Closed source is more building a commercial product, right? And, attempting to commercialize. And it's just not really my bag.
Yeah, I understand. But that I totally understand. But in other words, if it's like a not half-assed, but half-made product, which is not even something that you're, confident enough to share, you want to kind of have the basics before you kind of open source. That kind of feeling. I mean, you wouldn't know because you're, Mr. Open Source, like you said, and I respect that. But yeah. So
yeah, I mean, so it's fairly common. I mean, and it's a different story if you're like a solo developer than if you're actually trying to work on things. And it depends on what you're looking for, right? As I said, in our cases, we're trying to build community. So typically our projects start off open source from day one. First commit open source. It's nothing. It's garbage. It's open source. You get to see us build it the whole way. And the point is we want to try to encourage people to jump in at any point in time in that process, from day one, anywhere in. What typically and is more likely to happen on a smaller solo project or something like that, right, is you're building a lot of it for your own itch. You're building a lot of it entirely for yourself. And when you get to a certain point of maturity, then you feel like it's worth opening. The thing is most people don't go and, scrub their history or anything like that, right, to hide the previous states. It's not like they're really trying to hide it. A lot of it is I feel like it's lack of distraction. Right? When you're working on it entirely on your own and you're working on it entirely, kind of in private and things like that, you're able to work on it with little distraction. As you start asking more people to look at it, you're going to be getting more input, no matter what, right? True. That's essentially by the design of it. And that can be distracting, especially if you're a solo person. In fact, there have been times where we've kept, ideas and designs out of the open before we were able to work on them for exactly that reason. It's typically easier to get some of the things done. That being said, what you end up with is essentially a product that is open sourced rather than an open source product. In other words, the product was built first, and then the open source was a secondary effect, right? Versus the product being built in open source being built open. The end result, depending on the product, not necessarily that different, especially if it was a small project in the first place, right? If you only had 100 people working on it in the first place, it doesn't make that much of a difference. But you'll notice that big projects that happen on Cardano tend to be open sourced very, very quickly, right? Hydra, Mithril, right? Things like this, these projects that are going to be additions to the protocol or, new ideas that are going out. It's because they want more people to come in as soon as possible. And when it's very early, even when it's broken and everything doesn't work and only 1/3 of it is implemented, right? Because that's the idea, is we want to get everyone in to help implement. We want to get more and get more people involved. We want that mind share. So a lot of it kind of depends on where the mind space is, right? Like I said, working on a solo project to scratch your own itch. Well, you have an itch to scratch. You don't necessarily care about my itch. And I don't mean this in a bad way, but right, like that's just generally it.
Yeah.
If you're a company, you have, building a corporate product, you have a roadmap, you have a plan, right? Like you have sales cycles, right? Like all of these kind of things that you're trying to plan through that go along with it.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to build a community, the easiest way to do that is engagement.
True.
Right. And if you're trying to build a community around code, you basically need to show people the code as soon as possible to get that engagement. And so that's really where the difference is, right? Is if I'm building something for myself, I can build it in a private repo. I don't need anybody else's inputs or anything like that. I can solve my problem and then say, hey, you know what? I solved this for myself. It's available to all of you. I've done this before too, right? And so what's happened is you've taken a personal project and you've open sourced it. Right. Yeah. But it's a sequence versus you started an open source project. You started a project and you open sourced it. And so again, over time, it doesn't matter, right? Like, if your project was private for 6 months and, it's 8 years later, does anyone care? No, of course not. Right. No, I mean, so it's all fairly relative.
I see. Yeah, I see clearly what you're saying. Thank you very much for filling me in that part. And okay, because you don't have too much more time because you're having meetings and you got to fly to Germany.
Buenos Aires.
Not Germany. Sorry, Buenos Aires. I was not here for a second. Yes. Santi's place. Yeah.
Yes.
Please say hello to Santi for me.
I will.
I wanted to go, but I couldn't make it, so I'm kind of depressed. But maybe next time. Definitely.
I hope so. We also have a node diversity workshop on Monday that IO is hosting at their IO offices in Buenos Aires. That all of us node developers are going to be at. We're going to be discussing Laos and a bunch of fun things for the next protocol versions, even beyond that.
All right. So to wrap things up, can you tell me where Dingo's gonna go, or where you think it's gonna go? As maybe you can't tell me the whole vision, but maybe if you can share a little secret, if there's a secret.
Everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I think that the best utility of technology is technology that's essentially invisible. And I really want to see our technology move in that direction. I want to see Dingo, put into anywhere where people need to work with the blockchain, with Cardano, either reading data from it or transacting with it. I like to talk about, when I talk about things like Linux, like Linux isn't everything, right? It's in your phone, it's in your TV, it's in your light bulbs now. Right? Like it's everywhere. And that's the kind of ubiquity that we want to see, right? We want to make it so that blockchain becomes something that's everywhere. And with that, it means it takes all types, right? It takes all kinds of systems, all kinds of builds. Everybody's Linux is a little bit different, just like everybody's blockchains. The blockchain nodes are a little bit different. They all have different needs. So I want to try to build needs that are designed more around a local type of environment. So, edge cases, and by that I mean the edge in the computing sense of near the user. Right. So cases with like CDNs, things like that, essentially building out even further the infrastructure layers that are going to be necessary for real full-scale adoption.
Wow, so there's probably going to be, a lot more work going on. And, like you said, with AI, with a great team, you'll probably be moving like a space shuttle. So, a week later, a month later, you'll be on a completely different stage, I think.
Well, yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy that, I was able to catch you last minute. Thank you so very much for coming on. And definitely, I would like to talk to you again soon regarding nodes and a lot of different things too. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining in. 今週もありがとうございました。また来週、カルダノラジオをお楽しみに。See you. Bye bye.
DeFi's alive, liquidity streams. Cardano's building real world dreams. ADA, we rise on your wings. From blockchain roots to real world things. DeFi, governance, midnight align. Cardano's vision, the future DJ for stability, Indigo's right. USDA come and trust decentralized. Decks are trading, pools stay deep. Stake, delegate, rewards to keep. Midnight with dust, protecting the right. Privacy balance with laws in sight. Identity verified, freedom intact. Zero knowledge whispers guard every act.